Did Joshua Dobbs show enough in his loss to the Cowboys Thursday night to make him the starter in the finale, the all-important play-in game for the Tennessee Titans? What about those Cowboys going into the playoffs in 2022? And Matt and I will make our picks for Week 17 coming up right now.
NFL analyst Brian Peacock and former NFL scout Matt Williamson bring you expert NFL analysis every day in less than 30 minutes. Get an inside look into the NFL on the field and in the front office. With elite breakdowns, next-level analysis, and in-depth information only for the real NFL fans. This is Peacock and Williamson, and it starts now.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock alongside Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen all year long here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of P&W is presented by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season. More props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. And, of course, our friends at BetOnline are the lines we will be referencing on today's show when we make our picks for Week 17. That we're not in our six-pack from yesterday. One of the games from our six-pack yesterday, Matt, was the Cowboys. And we both picked the Cowboys and picked them with giving up those, 10 points, 10.5 points against
a bunch, right?
Tennessee Titans. It was a lot of points. And even though it started slow for the Cowboys, they were able to cover that number. And it was an easy win, 27-13 in the end. I wasn't super impressed by the Cowboys, more on them in the second. But the Tennessee Titans with the odd decision to go with Joshua Dobbs, who has not been there a long time, to start this game. And it turns out it was more of it wasn't a let's protect Malik Willis and not get him hurt. It was that was the reason Derrick Henry wasn't in the game.
Right.
It didn't matter, but it was, let's see if Joshua Dobbs has a spark, has something that might look better, sort of an audition for next week, Dobbs or Malik Willis. So after seeing this game, Matt, 27-13, he had a touchdown. Congratulations, by the way, to Joshua Dobbs on his first ever career touchdown. He's been around so long. I can't believe he hadn't thrown a touchdown pass yet. His first ever career touchdown in his first ever career start, Joshua Dobbs. Did it change anything for you? Do you start Dobbs? Do you start Malik Willis? Because if they had that much of a question about Willis, it's almost as if they wanted Dobbs to look good enough to be the guy. And he looked okay, but that's your that's your best option is Joshua Dobbs. The guy's never thrown a touchdown pass. So I don't know. Is it Dobbs? Is it Malik Willis for you for the Titans next week now?
Yeah, Dobbs spent most of his career in Pittsburgh. I've sat down with him a few times. He is beloved, great locker room guy, unbelievably smart. Like, he could give up football and be a rocket scientist. Like that, I'm not making that up. I mean, he'll be just fine later in life. Or, people used to joke around the Steelers locker room, we'll be working for Josh someday. I mean, so he's that type of guy. My take overall is good for the Titans that they played as hard as they did. They made this thing as close as possible. I know we'll talk Cowboys in a minute, but I'm a little worried. Are they play down to the expectations, play down the opponent type, play up to the Vikings, blow them out type of team? And that would really fit the organization from ownership to coach. And Dak's turning the ball over a little too much. Zeke looks like he has no juice, by the way. I mean, that just was a side note there. I wanted to mention Treylon Burks. They may have something there. That's kind of exciting. But back to the quarterback situation. I was wrong yesterday. I thought, Josh, nice to have you. Go get sacked 400 times. Take the beating. You're the front line of the Civil War process here. You're that guy in the Revolutionary War that stands in front and gets shot so the rest of us don't. But I think there was more to it. I think it's just we don't think we can win with Willis playing the way he does. So maybe this guy can be a professional quarterback for us. And last night he showed that. How I would handle it against the Jags is I would play Dobbs like 2/3 of the snaps, and I would have a Willis package. You know what I mean? The Willis Henry option package or whatever. Just be hard to prepare for one game.
We've been doing this show together for too long, Matt.
Okay.
That's exactly what I was going to say about. It's like neither one is a good answer, so use both.
Use both, right? They do different things.
This is a playoff game, essentially. You have to win this game to get into the tournament. Maybe one of the guys shows you something. Maybe you get some sort of a recipe that turns out to be the most difficult thing to play against, which is, okay, start Joshua Dobbs and then make like life difficult by bringing in Malik Willis and utilizing the best parts of his skill set and talent as a raw rookie quarterback. But it's really bad decision for them to make because looking at both quarterbacks, clearly they hadn't seen enough from Willis.
Right.
They wanted a journeyman who's never thrown a touchdown pass, potentially to be the guy in Joshua Dobbs. So that tells you why the Jaguars are probably going to be favored next week.
Exactly. It is desperate, but I'm just sitting here thinking, I haven't broken down the Jags, obviously, like the Titans coaching staff has and will. Is there something they're really bad at? Well, Dobbs or Willis probably has some trait that you can attack that with. And if you happen to win that game, same with the next one. And, these are 1 week years, you know what I mean? So what's the thing that the Jags hate the most? Well, one of our guys can hopefully do that.
And maybe the Titans already know who they're going to start. And Mike Vrabel said they'll decide next week who that's going to be. But, make it a little bit more difficult in preparation for the Jaguars to prepare for two quarterbacks. And maybe they'll see both. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. So, they gained some knowledge. They're a little harder to play against now than they were a week ago.
And, there's a bad drop for Dobbs. There was something there. It looked like he had played
he belongs.
Football before, less raw than Malik Willis, I think. Whichever quarterback it is, they're going to hand to Henry a lot and hopefully play an efficient brand of football. And if you're not turning the ball over, that's pretty much all they're going to be asking of whichever quarterback it is.
And you would hope the week off is greatly appreciated by Henry and Simmons and all their key dudes. And the guys that did play get 10 days to prepare for their playoff game, which is huge too. So in terms of rest, this helps the Titans a lot. And it doesn't even matter if they lost last night.
A couple of statistics here on the Cowboys side of things. Congratulations to CeeDee Lamb, who joins Michael Irvin and Jason Witten as the third player in Cowboys history with 100 receptions in a season. Irvin had 111 catches in 1995, and then Witten in 2012 had 110 catches. So congrats to CeeDee Lamb, who's just becoming a monster, especially when he's in the slot. I think his PFF grade, he's the highest graded PFF receiver in the slot, 92.4, something like that. Yeah.
That adds up.
Him moving around, him getting open, making plays, body control. Love him at the catch point. Can give you a little after the catch. He's turning into one of those true wide receiver ones in the NFL. And kind of knocking on the door of that elite tier of receiver is CeeDee Lamb.
No doubt. And nice day by Schultz, and Gallup starting to look kind of healthy too. So all that Odell talk was probably better that they didn't go down that road.
And maybe they still might, but they didn't need him in this one, that's for sure. And congratulations to those fantasy owners in their playoffs who had a couple of touchdowns from Dalton Schultz, by the way.
Nice start. You're in the Super Bowl. That's a nice start.
How about this one? Mike McCarthy. There was talk coming into the year. It was like, well, Mike McCarthy's probably going to be done, and they're going to go after Sean Payton or something. I don't think that's the case anymore. But how about this with Mike McCarthy? Because Mike McCarthy gets the least amount of credit of any head coach that has won 11 or more games in 10 of his 16 years as an NFL head coach.
Pretty good.
Yeah. That's not bad at all.
Right. Everyone just gives Aaron Rodgers all the credit or,
Right.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
So, yeah. Mike McCarthy might stick around for a little bit here.
Okay. A couple shout outs there for Lamb and McCarthy.
The Cowboys are such a weird team because you see a game like Thursday night, and look, it was Thursday, and you talked about playing to their opponent's level. I didn't see a team that's like, oh, man, we got to play the Cowboys in the playoffs.
Right.
I just didn't see that type of a team. So who knows what team shows up week to week for the Cowboys, but they didn't look like a juggernaut team. I would put a clear tier between them and the Eagles, but we just saw them against the Eagles last week, and that wasn't the case when they played the Eagles. And
they're a little
some of the playoff teams they played this year, and so maybe that's it. They play great when they play a good opponent, and they just kind of coast when they're playing somebody like the Titans with a quarterback who's never started before.
And we just had good numbers about McCarthy, but I could see that being a McCarthy trait too, and certainly a big Dallas, big team, big profile team type of trait as well. They kind of coasted against the Texans, blew out the Vikings, as I mentioned, got up for the Eagles, So at their best day, they're really hard to play against, but they're a little Jekyll and Hyde.
Next, let's make the rest of our picks for week 17, shall we?
Yes.
New Year's weekend. I hope a lot of folks out there are having a lot of fun. Not too much fun, though. Let's get to those picks next. Speaking of having fun on New Year's, did you know that driving high is considered driving under the influence? That's right. Driving under the influence of marijuana is against the law in every state, even if your state marijuana is legal. That means driving high could get you a DUI. And I just want everybody to think about what they're doing this weekend and what plans they might have for New Year's, whether it revolves around going to a football game or not. It's just not worth it. Don't bring your keys. Don't bring your vehicle. Make sure you are in a situation where you are going to not make a bad decision at the end of the night when you have been imbibing, and ride share, do what you have to do to get home safely. And driving under the influence of marijuana can slow down your response time and change how you perceive time and speed. So even if you think you're fine to drive when you're high, you're not. Bottom line is, if you feel different, you drive different. And driving high is driving under the influence. So remember, drive high, get a DUI, paid for by the NHTSA. Thanks again, everybody, for making Peacock and Williamson your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Sports today. The biggest stories around the world in 20 minutes or less, plus instant reactions, game recaps, and Locked On's take of the day. Locked On Sports today, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. The Falcons at home favored by 3 points over those Arizona Cardinals. It's looking like Colt McCoy is coming back. The Trace McSorley experience was not great for the Cardinals, and I think we all know he's not an NFL starting quarterback. Desmond Ridder gets another shot here. These are two teams that are pretty much done now. 4-11 Cardinals at the 5-10 Falcons.
It's a time of year where you have to really, and it's hard as an analyst, is motivation, how into it are teams, and just a hunch. Everything Arizona's been through. They played pretty well last year when they were last week as a standalone game and the whole world was watching. In Atlanta, across country for a 1:00 start, I just see a stinker coming from Arizona at this point. I don't care who the quarterback is. And I think Atlanta plays the same every week. They give it to Algier, they give it to Patterson, and Ridder throws it to London. And I think that's a winning formula against a bad defense like this that might not be giving it their all.
Maybe the JJ Watt retirement gets everybody fired up. They don't want to lose for JJ in his last couple of games here, but I feel the same way. And the Falcons should be favored in this game for those reasons. This is a game I'm not going to spend a lot of time on either now or watching it on Sunday. But I'm going to take the Falcons here, and I'm going to reluctantly give up those 3 points.
Okay, yeah, me too.
The Chicago Bears at 3-12 are at the Detroit Lions. The Lions need a lot of help now to get into the playoffs. That was a rough one last week for them. They need to be 8-7 right now going into the last two games. They are 7-8 going into the last couple of games. Need some help. They are favored by 6 points at home against those Bears.
I think this is a big rebound spot for the Lions at home. And the Bears consistently lose, but they do some good things. I just think the Lions are 2 tiers ahead of them in terms of building, a winnable team. I think that this team will play hard. Playoffs probably aren't in their future, unfortunately, but I think they beat the Bears by a touchdown or more.
I'm going to take the Bears. I'm going to take the points here, 6 points, and have the Bears play it close. Did the same thing last week, and it looked great for the first half of the game, and then, they're just so under-talented. But could Jared Goff do the same and just put up a whole bunch of points? I don't know. We'll see how it goes there, but I like the Detroit Lions to keep this close. Straight up, I think you got to go Lions at home. They do have something to play for, and there's a rebound aspect of this to the Lions, and it's amazing how under-talented the Bears are when they go up against teams. But I still a believer in Justin Fields and being the sort of the leveler in some of those games because he's just so hard to play against, and the brand of football that the Bears play tries to suppress total points even on their own offense at times. So close. I'm going to take the under, and I'm going to take the Chicago Bears and those 6 points.
Does this change your tune at all? Because I thought I read it somewhere and I just looked it up super quick. The Lions are the 3rd best team against the spread this year at 10-5. The Bears are the 3rd worst at 5-9-1.
Wow.
Super convincing article, but there you go.
Interesting. That is an interesting one. That does change things for me.
Okay.
That's but not enough.
Okay. Fair enough.
Broncos, to be honest with you, it's getting to the end of the season making these picks, and like my brain is kind of mush sometimes.
Oh, I hear you.
It's just like
it's not like we know what's going to happen.
You see these teams like Bears, Lions, come on, division opponents, got to be close, right? And then in the end, you're like, oh, that's right. Every week, it's like, oh yeah, but the Bears are really bad.
But the Bears are really bad.
You get reminded about it,
But
the Lions are not that bad anymore. And
No, right.
I just see the little blue lion, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna give the Lions 6 points. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I mean, like the Bears would kill for DJ Chark, let alone Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Oh,
I mean, right? Even I mean, they got nothing.
All right,
All right, move it along.
You got the Denver Broncos here that are
they're another fun team.
Yeah, underdogs big as expected. The Chiefs favored by 12.5 points at home.
It just seems so easy to say the Chiefs because Denver's in a terrible place right now, but I'm not super big on this against the spread stuff, but the Chiefs are at the bottom of the league. I mean, only Tampa's worse against the spread. I think there is a misconception about the Chiefs that they just blow everyone's doors off by 20 or 30 points, and they really don't anymore. So I think I'll take the division opponent plus 12.5, but I really have no faith in Denver.
They certainly could blow teams out.
Oh,
and
yeah.
This could be an absolute blowout for the Chiefs at home. But I am betting on the interim bump and those Denver
There you go.
firing their head coach. There's always a bump for a week or two after a coach gets fired and an interim comes in. Maybe things look a little bit different for the Chiefs in their preparation than what actually happens on the field on Sunday because of that reason. So I'm going to take the 12.5 points and those Denver Broncos.
I mean, I can't believe the Broncos defense will be as horrid as it was against the Browns on Christmas Day, where they're going to be competitive at least,
And look,
right?
Yeah, Russell Wilson doesn't play defense either.
Right. Yeah, I'll take the points.
All right. We've got the Indianapolis Colts at 4-10-1. They are at the New York Giants, an important one for the Giants at 8-6-1, and Giants at home favored by 5.5.
Yeah, I like New York here. I have really little faith in the Colts. I assume it's going to be Foles. He looked, I don't want to say disinterested, but not real comfortable to say the least. I mean, I can't say anything good about how he looked out there. They're really lacking firepower. I mean, I think the Colts have already made the golf reservations, vacation reservations. Giants are playing hard. They're at home. I like New York here.
And the New York Giants, let me double check on this one. New York Giants clinch a playoff berth with a win.
Okay.
Or a combination of other things have to happen for the Giants, but it's a win in your end game. This is a playoff berth you're talking about for the 8-6-1. Get 9-6-1, and then you are in the tournament. And then it depends on if you're the 6th or the 7th seed for the New York Giants in Week 18.
I haven't given this a ton of thought, but if I'm the Giants, I'm not going to win the division. If I can win this game, go balls to the walls to beat the Colts, which shouldn't be that difficult, rest everyone next week and end up with, I don't care if I have the 6th seed or the 7th seed. I'm just happy I'm in. That's how I'd approach it.
You're on the road anyway. You earn yourself
right.
You earn yourself a bye.
Right.
Like, hey, look, we got a bye week.
Yeah, let's beat the Colts and rest. And I think that's smart. Give Barkley the week,
teams,
or,
don't want to really go down this rabbit hole too much, but it's funny because a lot of teams don't want to rest guys because, like, no, you can't rest guys in the NFL. You got to go out there and play. You don't want to be rusty, and you can't take the foot off the brake. It's not like the Eagles wouldn't want to buy. They're glad they have a bye in the playoffs. So why don't teams like the Giants take their bye in Week 18?
If you can give yourself one, why not? Right. I'm kind of shocked that the Jags are going to play hard this week. Maybe they only do for half and they're lying to us. I don't know.
Well, let's get to that because Trevor Lawrence, limited in practice, he's got a toe injury. Like, to me, there's no way you put Trevor Lawrence on the field in this game.
Right.
The Jaguars are at the Texans, by the way. The 7-8 Jags at the 2-12 Texans. Jaguars favored by 4 on the road.
I was saying, this one's off the board from what I'm looking at. It must maybe they're worried about exactly what we're talking about. Oh no, yeah. I found it. I'm wrong about that.
Is it on there? Okay, yeah. 4 points still.
I'm not. Yeah, it's still 4. I'm not touching it though. I mean, because I know Jacksonville. I mean, they picked first in the draft the last 2 years. They're not a winning organization. Every win matters to a team like that. They're building a culture. So we're not taking the step back. We want the momentum going. I get all that, but I'm not putting Lawrence out there with a bad toe. I mean, there's 5 or 6 dudes I would play like it's the 3rd preseason game in the olden days. Play a half, get them out of there. And the Texans are playing super hard at home. I'll take the points.
I wouldn't even travel with Lawrence. Just let him kick
it. Yeah,
on
right.
Don't even take a flight. No, no way.
Help us call plays. Stand there on the sideline with a headset on, or
No way you play Trevor Lawrence. For that reason, I'm going to take the Texans here in the points at home. Give me the home dog Texans. Let's go.
I like it. Yeah.
By the way, the Texans...
They might just play themselves out of the 1st overall pick.
I was just going to say that. Don't screw around and win this game, though, Texans. Come on.
Right. They're very much in danger. Last 3 weeks, they've been almost winning games, and then they won one. What's going
And they've
on
got
here?
that tie, too. So
Right.
they're 2-12-1. That would mean if they win their third game, they would be in a really bad spot, and the Chicago Bears would have that first pick if they lose.
Yeah,
with
that's
the 3
crazy.
weeks.
Which, if you're the Bears, like, who wants Bryce Young? Give us lots of stuff for it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I'm
I
all ears.
like
Yeah.
Jalen Carter for the Bears.
Love.
We'll talk a lot of draft, but Matt Eberflus, remember
Will
Matt
Anderson.
Eberflus' defense with the Colts? They went out and traded for DeVorce Buckner, having that stud defensive tackle. I think the Bears are ecstatic about the position they're in the draft. I'm sure they don't like losing a whole bunch of football games, but knowing that their pick is going to be valuable because whether it's Will Anderson with an edge guy, which every team wants and needs, Jalen Carter for that defensive line, absolutely huge needs for the Bears, or give us a haul of picks for one of these quarterbacks. They're sitting in a really nice spot.
Really nice spot. What they're not thrilled about is giving up Chase Claypool for the 33rd or 32nd overall pick.
Yes,
but
right.
I am happy about that.
Yeah, Matt Williamson's gonna have a fun time slotting players there in his mock drafts.
All the mock drafts this offseason I get to do. Oh boy.
All right, we more draft talk to come, of course, all off season long here on Peacock and Williamson. Though next, let's finish up our Week 17 picks. Today's episode of Peacock and Williamson is presented by BetOnline.net, your number one source for sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. Of course, all of our lines we reference are from our friends at BetOnline. Tons of NFL lines every single week, of course, but tons of props as well. Player of the year props, right? Year-end award props. There is Super Bowl props out there. Is your favorite team going to make it to the big game? You can bet on such things at BetOnline. And not just NFL football. There's college football, college basketball, esports, combat sports, motorsports, you name it. You can find it at betonline.net and get informed before you make those bets at BetOnline. And if you love sports podcasts, you can even find those at BetOnline as well. Always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fixed. Head over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more at BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay, here we go. We got to finish up the rest of the games here for the Week 17 slate. Matt, that takes us to the 6-9 New Orleans Saints at the 13-2 Philadelphia Eagles. Philly favored by nearly a touchdown at home.
Yeah, I think the Eagles are ready to stomp the Saints, get the better draft pick. Hurts or not, as we're recording this, I have not gotten confirmation, but I still think Minshew is highly, highly capable. I think I haven't seen this, but I assume you go all in basically against Saints. If there's anyone questionable, you leave them out, and then you rest for 2 weeks is the plan. Clinch this thing. So I'll lay the points. I think the Eagles are so much better than New Orleans.
I think if there's any inclination at all that Jalen Hurts isn't 100%, and Nick Sirianni was, doesn't want to tell anybody yet. Jalen Hurts was at practice in a limited fashion, threw well, according to Nick Sirianni. So we'll see if he plays. I think smart money is on Gardner Minshew playing, but I still think smart money is on the Eagles winning the game. It's just by how much. And yeah, you're right. They can help themselves out with the draft pick as well here.
Yeah.
And the Philadelphia Eagles. And how bad does that trade look now for the New Orleans Saints? But I'm going to take the Eagles at home. Yeah, whether it's Minshew or not. A little bounce back game for the Eagles last week.
If this was over a touchdown, I'd consider it, but 6.5, cool.
6.5, yep. We've got the Browns, the 6-9 Browns at the 7-1 Commanders. Looking at the playoff clinching scenarios here for the Commanders, who are now at 500. In Week 17, the Commanders can clinch a playoff berth with, obviously, a win. They would also need a combination of things to happen. They would need the Seattle Seahawks to lose. They would need the Detroit Lions to lose. And they would need the Green Bay Packers loss or tie. And Washington Commanders would then clinch a playoff berth. So I think they're going to be going into Week 18 most likely with that still up in the air. But obviously winning is priority number one.
Yeah, they have more to play for than Cleveland. Cleveland's offense has been flat out horrific with Deshaun Watson. I think they've scored like 3 touchdowns in like 48 drives or something, some terrible number. I'm not a Wentz fan, but I think he can get the ball down the field to his receivers. So I'll take -1 at home. I'll take Washington clearly.
I like the Browns to win this game. I like the Browns to here's where I like the Commanders. And yes, at home, give me the points in the home dog here because I think it's even enough. The one thing I saw from the Commanders, especially last week, and they got Chase Young back, that defensive line has a whole bunch of first rounders on it, and they're not easy to play against. They're not easy to run the ball against, and so that's going to make things difficult for the way the Browns want to play football. And to be honest with you, the Browns just have looked disjointed, and we haven't really seen the Deshaun Watson thing yet for them, and it's preseason-y feel to what that team looks like right now. Maybe they get out of it against the Washington Commanders, but right now, just the way the Browns play, the way the Commanders are built, as long as Carson Wentz isn't turning the ball over like crazy, give me the Commanders.
Yeah, I think so. I feel pretty good about that one.
Moving on to the Rams and Chargers, Matt. The 5-10 Rams at the 9-6 Chargers, both at home. This is in Los Angeles, right? For both teams, they get to sleep in their own beds. And the Chargers favored by 6.5. The Rams put 51 points up last week, man.
Yeah, I think the Rams are doing some good things despite a dreadful year. A lot of it went against them, but I do think they're doing some good things. I think this line's perfect. I mean, I don't really trust the Chargers. So they have a ton to play for. I mean, they're going to go. They're in the playoffs. I guess I'll take LA. No, I'll take the Chargers.
Yeah, give me LA. Slam dunk. LA's going to win this football game for sure. I actually hate this one because
I do too. I want nothing.
Clearly, the Chargers, there's no home bump here, and they should be favored. But the Rams proved last week they're not going to be a pushover. I think part of it was the opponent, clearly, for the Rams last week. But 6.5 is a little much right now for the Chargers, and so I will just say, give me the points, but I wouldn't touch it.
Understandable. Yeah, I want nothing to do with this one.
Tell me about those Pittsburgh Steelers, Matt. 7-8. They are not out of it. The Baltimore Ravens at 10-5. This game in Baltimore. Baltimore favored by 2.5. Which
I think there's no chance Lamar plays, by the way.
Okay, yeah. So we're still in the no Lamar zone, which is why this is only 2.5 for the Ravens at home. Steelers have been playing some good ball. Is the Steelers team in prime time going to go upset the Baltimore Ravens, Matt?
Well, a key here, I think, is if Miami wins in New England or the Jets win in Seattle, the Steelers will already know they're eliminated when kickoff happens. So it's one of those weird situations. But it's the Ravens, and this is a very real rivalry. I don't think Tomlin was going to pull out TJ Watt or Cam Hayward or any of those guys for Ravens week, even if they're eliminated. So therefore, I expect a very typical Steeler-Raven game with lots and lots of punts, lots and lots of big hits, good defense. And I think it's a coin flip game. Without Lamar, I want the points.
I kind of feel the same way. I wish it was more points. I wish it was more points to really drive that home for me. But gosh dang it, the folks at BetOnline are good at making those lines, aren't they? Because they've made a lot of these picks tough here in week 17.
Tucker could certainly beat our +2.5 in the last second and go,
Absolutely. But yeah, in a close one, in a low scoring game, no Lamar, give me the points in those Pittsburgh Steelers.
Over under 35.
That's low. That's one of the lowest we've seen this season.
Ever, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when it gets to 36, 37, it's low. 35 is like an extra point where they're like, well, we just basically can't make it lower.
Right. I mean, if you told me right now, hey, Matt, your Steelers are going to get 16 points in this game, would you take it? I'd be like, yeah. I think that gets a win. Or if you get over 15, I think you win this game. If you get to 20, wow.
Look out. Yeah.
Woohoo, yeah.
All right. That is week 17. Matt and I will be back Monday after all of the weekend's action. Everybody have a fun and safe New Year's. Talk to you then right here. Peacock and Williamson.